Man, baby girl, do you remember when we first started in the business and how frustrating it was, coming from that corporate, background to getting in business together, just trying to figure this thing out, our roles and what we would, what the day would look like, what our schedule would look like.
Yes. I remember having to go from spending like no time together to all the time together.
Right.
And, because when you were at work, I was at school, we would spend maybe 40, 50 hours a week away from each other to now every single day we're in the office together.
Right.
So that adjustment of the time together was a huge deal.
100%. And not even knowing our roles, right?
Yes.
Stepping on each other's toes, who's doing appointments, who's doing back office, who's showing up to the office, who's raising the kids, what's going on with the babysitter, who's doing the dishes and the laundry. And I think that, identifying roles was very important, very vital to grow in partnership within the business, to figure out what I like, what I don't like, right? What I like and I love, what I'm bad at, what I'm good at, and vice versa. What would you say?
Yes, no, yeah, most definitely. And then, yes, having kids, having to adjust to parenthood in the business to, like you said, who's doing the laundry, who's taking out this, who's doing that, who's plugging in with the team, who's on this appointment, who's on that appointment.
Right.
So to be able to delegate those roles properly and make sure that, the business is taken care of first, but then, of course, home as well. So just figuring out where we placed in those different areas of our life.
100%. And especially when it came to spending time to master the craft.
Yes.
Whether it's, listen to audios in the car, turning the TV off, and actually, hopping on a website, watching training videos and actually putting in that time, not stepping on each other's toes, but understanding that there's a mission that we're going after. What would you say about, mastering our craft?
Yes, honestly, just both being intentional about, POL, training development, and then even to being able to come for that advice, right? I remember I used to say every other word. And you say like, nope, no ums. And I think one time you even counted my ums.
Don't count them.
Right. So, being able to take that, like, okay, you know what? Yes, I say a lot. Let me work on it. And vice versa. Learning the material, learning life insurance, learning overcoming objection, learning all of those things, all of those tools to make us successful so that when we go out and talk to people, we're relaying the right message.
100%.
And I think another part of that was that time together that I was talking about, us having so much time together, versus like starting to train people. So I think a big tool that we also learned was not being so focused of pouring time into each other, because now we have this newfound time.
Come on now.
But pouring it into new people, right? Our teammates that need us, that are learning this just like we did, when we first started.
Right.
So them like, okay, teaching them how to go on POL, teaching them how to fill out a life app, how to make a quote, but all of those things, right? So not only, pouring that additional time into each other, but learning like, there's so many other people or things that could take our time, unlike versus each other.
100%. I think a big one is being in the field.
Yes.
Being in the field, that's the fun part.
Yes.
Because now you got your new person. They don't know what's going on. You got all the confidence in the world because you've mastered your craft. You've mastered the presentation, which took time. And just those phone calls that we're able to give. Hey, I was able to help a family out, with the life insurance and get them protected, or maybe it was a legal service, and just how fired up the new person was, right? I think once we started talking about the new person and them being fired up, them being excited, them seeing the presentation, for the very first time, the 5th time or the 10th time, I think that gave us a huge edge on not necessarily focused on trying to perfect each other, but actually perfecting the craft.
Yes. I think that's so huge because, Well, I say you said it perfectly, but yeah, focusing on those teammates, because how many other people are here to change their lives. They see what we've seen in the opportunity to be able to help families, to educate,
Right.
and so pouring into them more than each other.
100%, 100%. And, just those beginning days, those beginner days, very vital, very important to maturity in the business. I think a lot of people might try to run from those conflicts with your partner, but what do we call them? We call them
Passionate conversation.
passionate conversations,
Yes.
right? Just think about how many passionate conversations we've had, thus far during the journey, and where we are today, and just structuring the business, knowing where we're going in the business, changing those conversations. I think that's key as well. Setting goals. What's the mission? What's the daily mission? How many appointments do we have set on today? How many people do we have showing up to the office, right? What's that looking like for us?
Yes, and I think we did. We had a few passionate conversations coming up, and I think one of the big ones was us even planting our flag here, saying like, hey, this is, an opportunity that we can see ourselves growing at both.
Right.
And so making that decision to even go full time, that was one like key conversation. And then, like you said, like tracking our business, right?
Right.
How many teammates do we have coming in? How many people are at our op night or our big event, meeting attendance?
Right.
What are our licensed team size looking like? What is the numbers? What are all those things? So being able to sit down and have those conversations to really say where we're going. And I think a big one is, where are we going, right? What's the next goal? What's the milestone? What are we pushing towards for this year of our business? What do we want to be at by the end of the year? Having those conversations to delegate the right area so that we know what our focus is for that next 90, 180 to year time span.
100%. And you said something so powerful, right? Coming into the business, I know we had a lot of I's, right? A lot of there's no I in team.
Right.
But there's two I's in winning, so coming in and seeing the business for the first time and that competitive edge, that we're able to see, like, I can actually be somebody. I want to be somebody, which caused, what caused us a little friction, just a little bit in the very beginning. But you said something so powerful. It became, from I to we, from me to us, and I think once we were able to create a system and find a system that works for us and understand that we're building a business for us, understand that, we're helping out the community and it's a us thing, not just a me thing, but more of a we thing. I think once we realized that point, that's when things started to take off for us. What do you feel about that?
Yes. No, yeah, most definitely. Like I said, when we started the business, I was in school full time and you were putting me through school full time. So and I knew you worked hard because you provided for us, but I didn't see the work that you put in on a daily basis, and you didn't see me in the books every single day on a daily basis. So to join our efforts and to come into the business and say we're going to do this as a unit versus our two separate lives that we had before, I think having to coexist and to become to change those I's for we's definitely made a difference, and it made it easier too because we are going towards the same goal, right? So being able to work for a common goal and put two efforts instead of one towards that goal versus us being in those different career fields working at something.
100%. And I think that once, your partnership is established, you put some stability there. We've worked on, our schedule. We mastered our craft. We're field training individuals. And it became, from an I thing to a we thing. I think that that right there is a recipe for success. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Come on now.